Hey there, it's October, so I'm going to play as many spooky themed games as I can before Halloween, and then I'm going to rank them in order of my preference based on one play and the experience that I had. The third game that I looked at in my series of spooky games for Halloween is called Creepshow, the suspense building game by Skybound Tabletop. I'm going to read what it says off of this pamphlet here so that you have a better understanding of what the game is about. It says, this competitive story building game, you'll be playing as a creep like me, creating deliciously horrible stories and sending bad people to their well-deserved demise. So on the table, there will be 3 villains, and you are trying to defeat these villains in order to score the points on top. There's a fun flavor text. So in the example of this one, the cutthroat businessman, it says, hooking new clients with false promises was their fast track to the boardroom. On a trip to the coast with their assistant, they encounter a sea monster and quickly learn that there is always a bigger fish. Each player has a deck of creep cards that has this fun back art. So this is one player. This would be another player. We got this third guy over here. So very, very fun art style. All of these creep decks have the same cards in them, so there's the numbers 1 to 3, as well as a -2. Players are trying to play their creep cards to villain cards in secret, so people don't know what number has been played onto the villain. And when those cards are eventually revealed, whoever has the highest score has defeated that villain and gets the points. Players also have a hand of 7 story cards. So on a player's turn, they can either discard cards from their hand and draw back up to 7, or they can play a story card to the villain. The purpose is to play story cards in 3 acts, so Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, to tell a story as well as to score points with these cards. There are 2 main types of story cards. One is like an instant card. So for example, this one could be played to Act 3 of a villain once Act 3 is available. And it instantly gives you 3 points and allows you to play a creep card to one of the villains. So this is one of the ways in which you are able to play creep cards secretly to the villains. The other type of card is a path card, and once a path card is played, it ends that act. So for example, this one's Act 1. There's 2 sides to this act, and you can choose either the harder side or the easier side, And what this means is once you play this, you flip all the cards over on the villain, and if their total score is higher than the path that you've chosen, that means you've defeated the villain in that round and moved on to the next act. It does not mean you've scored the villain at this time, it just means you get the points on this card itself. So for some flavor text, you see here this one that says, the lights go out, something is here in the dark with them. Choose a path, stay still, listen as the thing draws near, or run for the nearby woods. And those are the options that you have with different bonuses depending on which one you choose and potentially defeat. Endings are played at the end of each villain, and if you're able to successfully do your ending, you get the points on this card, and whoever had the most creep card total on the villain will score the villain at that time. So not only are you trying to score cards from your story, you're also trying to score cards from the villains. So there's very strategic kind of what are you doing with your cards, and you do run out of cards in your hand as well for the creep cards with the numbers. So it gets very tricky because you don't know what you get cards that let you take cards back, but you don't know what you're taking back, or you can make other players take their cards back, but you don't know what you've given them back. So there's kind of this element of screwing with each other, so to speak. Now here's the moment that we've all been waiting for. Where does Creepshow fall in comparison to these 2 other games for me? Currently, we have Escape the Dark Castle in first and Witchstone in second. And drumroll please, Creepshow comes in 3rd place. The reason that Creepshow comes in 3rd place for me compared to these other 2 games is for a few different reasons. First of all, the art is really beautiful and the flavor text is great, and the game was a lot better than I was expecting when the rules were being explained to me, and I do want to play again. That being said, while the art is beautiful, it's not really my thing. So as you may have noticed, it's very comic book style art. It's very, very cool. I love the path choosing. That is something I find great, the flavor text. However, I'm not big on comic book style art. I do like the player interaction with the way that you're taking and moving cards from the piles. However, for me, when there's numbers like that and a set hand, I think I prefer a traditional trick-taking game to this kind of deductive surprise pool of cards. I also tend to like strategy games more, or party games that don't really have much strategy aside from just laughter and having fun, with a few exceptions. This one falls somewhere in the middle. I think that this is a light game that for people who are into that kind of gameplay, it would be a hit with. I do want to play it again. I do think it was fun enough to play again, but it's not the type of game that I usually go to. I also really enjoyed Witchstone and Escape the Dark Castle, so it had some really tough competition. That being said, if you like the art style, if you like the sound of the gameplay, I definitely recommend you go check out a more in-depth review and see if it might be right for you.